Hi there, thank you so much for stopping by. My name is Hector. If you're new on the channel, here we talk about crypto, personal finance, and the Cardano project. So if you're into those things, I would suggest you stick around. Also consider subscribing and hitting that bell notification if you want to get alerts every time I push more content out in the tube. So today we have a very important video, guys. I wanted to update you on what's going on, what happened with the bipartisan infrastructure bill that has been debated for the last few days in the Congress, and what that means for the crypto world. So of course this content is time sensitive, so just make sure when you're watching this video that the information I'm providing here is still relevant for you. Also, just to get everybody watching up to speed, I'm going to cover some basic grounds just to establish some context for those who don't really know what's going on. But if you're all caught up and you just want the news, please follow the timestamps in the video down below so I don't make you waste your time. But for the rest of you, here's what's going on. During the past few weeks, a massive infrastructure bill has been debated in the Congress. This bill, which would fund federal investment in roads, bridges, broadband internet, public transit, and electric utilities, is the first one of a two-part strategy designed by President Joe Biden and the members of the Congress to rebuild the nation's infrastructure in an attempt to put the American people in a better financial footing coming out of the pandemic. In case you are not familiar with what a bill is like a law proposal. Every law starts in the Congress. When someone in the House of Representatives or the Senate wants to make a law, they start by writing a bill. A bill is then like an early version or a draft of a proposed law. This means that a bill doesn't have any effect until it's voted on by both houses of Congress, the House of Representatives and the Senate. If they both vote for the bill to become a law, the bill is then sent to the President of the United States for a final approval. There is more to it, and it can be more complicated depending on whether it is rejected or not by the President. But let's not go there for today. The important part is that the Senate has been legislating on this massive infrastructure bill, and it has the potential to hinder or affect negatively the cryptocurrency industry. Alright, so I know, if you're like me, you're probably wondering now, what on earth does an infrastructure bill have to do with the cryptocurrency market, right? Well, let me explain. This bill represents a $1.2 trillion investment, and all that money has to come from somewhere. The bill includes a tax provision that outlines plans to raise about $28 billion for the $1 trillion package through taxes from crypto transactions. The problem is not necessarily the dollar amount as much as the tax reporting process this law, if the bill passes, would impose to any entity that falls under the category of broker. And here's where the big problem lies. At the beginning, the language to define the term broker was so vague and so broad that it would include most everybody who has ever had interaction with cryptocurrencies, including miners, developers, validators, and other figures in the crypto market that simply had no way to comply with such reporting requirements. As Kathy Woods explains in her video, the problem is that they are trying to regulate crypto assets like a normal existing asset class, when in reality, crypto should be regulated as a new asset class. This means that there are certain parameters that simply do not apply to cryptocurrency. For instance, the way that data collection is handled in the crypto industry is a lot different from the legacy system. Unlike the legacy system, crypto operates on a blockchain, and its users are pseudonymous, which means that the transactions are not directly tied to a personal ID. This, of course, would present a big problem in terms of data collection. It is simply impossible for miners, proof-of-stake validators, and actually for most people that would be included in the current definition of broker to collect the data required to fill out a 1099 tax form. It simply can't be done, unless of course you are an exchange, in which case you are requiring your users to submit their personal data before using your services. But for the vast majority of figures involved in the crypto industry, that is simply not the case. After the original bill was presented, a few amendments have been proposed to provide more clarity and narrow down the definition of broker to something more specific. The first amendment, proposed by Senators Cynthia Lummis, Ron Wyden, and Pat Toomey, releases entities like miners, software designers, and protocol developers from the need to reporting this data. A second amendment proposed by Mark Warner, Brad Portman, and Kristen Sinema would only exempt traditional cryptocurrency miners from the financial reporting requirements. However, it would maintain those reporting requirements for those using proof of stake, which at this point includes most of the altcoins and other cryptocurrencies except Bitcoin, which is obviously not ideal for the crypto market. And there was apparently a third amendment proposed by Senator Ted Cruz from Texas to simply refrain at this moment from legislating on this industry on the basis of ignorance, which I honestly agree. I don't think most of the senators in the Congress have any idea what a cryptocurrency is, less to say how they work. So legislating on something you don't know is, in his own words,
and I think the consequences are going to be long-standing of this foolish legislation.
On Monday, August 9th, during the Congress meeting, a bipartisan compromise was agreed among the different proponents, offering a decent middle ground between the different amendments. This new amendment would exclude persons who validate distributed ledger data like miners, stakers, or proof-of-stake validators, hardware wallet providers, and developers. Now, as Senator Cynthia Lummis says, it is not perfect yet, but it is a great first step. And now to the bad news, because even though this new bipartisan amendment was well received and even got the support from the Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, the Senate did not vote unanimously, with one sole senator, Richard Shelby, objecting it. And yes, because this sole senator and his wimpy desire to get his own amendment passed, the amendment for crypto was not allowed to pass. So where do we stand now? At this point, because unanimous consent was required for the compromise amendment to pass, the original definition will remain. This is a loss for the industry because, as we stated earlier, the original language in this bill is too vague and too broad, and it includes too many people that simply have no way to comply with the type of data collection that they would be required by the IRS. What this means in practical terms is that miners, validators, hardware wallet providers, developers, which would include services like DEXs and other DeFi products, would simply not be able to comply with the FYK requirements, therefore driving them out of the US jurisdiction. Will they disappear if this bill becomes law? Of course not. They will simply move to a different place, to a more favorable jurisdiction. That would be a loss for everybody. You and I, as users in the US, people who have been their businesses around cryptocurrency and are located in the US, and even the government itself, they will miss out on billions of dollars in tax money because all these investors will be paying taxes to a different country. But there's still hope, because even though the bill already passed the Senate, it still has to clear the House of Representatives, where it could still be altered before it gets to the White House for final approval. But well, we will see what happens next, and I'll promise to keep you updated on how things develop. This is it for today, guys, and as always, if you are bullish on crypto and you believe that this industry is here to stay, do me a favor and pump that like button for the YouTube algorithm. It really helps the channel to grow, and it makes this content go further and reach more people just like you. Also, if you enjoyed this video and you found value in it, consider subscribing and hitting that bell notification so you get alerts every time I release my next video. Thank you again, guys. This is Hector, and I'll see you.